How do you set boundaries in your life? Well, first of all, before we go into the 3 steps of how to set boundaries, let's talk about what are boundaries and why are they awesome. The first thing, what are they? So a boundary is essentially something that we use conversationally, physically, environmentally in our world to communicate to other people around us what is okay and what is not okay. Essentially, it's a way to manage your energy. You know, a lot of people reach a point of burnout because they say yes to everyone else around them but themselves. Now, this is not their fault. They've usually not been taught anything about boundaries, and so education around this is so important to be able to share, to be able to learn for ourselves, so we can start to manage our own energy, so we can not only serve the people around us, but so we can serve ourselves. If I fill up my own cup, I can fill up other people's cup as well. So what are the 3 steps to setting a boundary? So the first one is to clarify the 2 major types of boundaries that you actually have inside your life. And even if you don't know what these boundaries are, you are either choosing to set them or not set them inside your life right now. So the first one is conversational boundaries. So this just simply means, what will you talk about versus what will you not talk about with someone? Say, for example, you're walking down the street and someone comes up to you and they say, "How much money is in your bank account?" You don't have to tell them. That's a boundary. You could say, "Well, random person, I'm not going to tell you that." Now, if you go to a barbecue with one of your family members and they say, "Hey, tell me about what's happening with your partner," you don't have to tell them. You could say, "Actually, I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about something else." Now, a lot of people aren't taught that they have the ability to say this magical word, no. When we start saying no to the things that don't serve us, and we start doing that, then we start creating space for the things that do serve us. Ultimately, it's an energy maintenance thing. You know how sometimes you have a conversation with someone, you feel like your energy's being zapped out of you? Sometimes it's appropriate to say to someone, "You know what, I don't want to talk about this. You know, we don't talk about this. This is like drama and negativity, and I don't want to get into it. How about we talk about something else?" That would be setting a boundary. Now I'm going to share some tips underneath this of how you can get started setting boundaries if that sounds like a big deal, if you've never done that before, or if you've been setting boundaries for quite some time, you're very versed with this and you say no to stuff. As a result of that, you have more space to say yes to you. And that's ultimately why we want to set boundaries, is because it's about choosing how you can manage your own sense of aliveness and wellness. What is good for me? I'm going to make decisions on that. So the first one is conversational. The second type of boundary is a physical boundary. Now this is 2 things. One, what you're asked to do and where you're asked to go, and also touch. So say, for example, someone could say, "Hey, do you want to come over and can you look after the kids tonight?" Right? And say, for example, you are like exhausted, but you feel a sense of obligation, and you end up going, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I can." But then you go over and then you just like resent it all night and you don't want to do it. And then you beat yourself up because you didn't say no. Versus maybe you're just exhausted and it's better for you to rest, so then you can have a great day tomorrow and you say, "You know what, I'd love to, but I'm exhausted. I'm really, really sorry. It's not me that's going to do it tonight." Now, of course, it's not black and white, and throughout life we have to learn about compromise and things. But this is a great example of when you could say no to a physical boundary where you've been asked to actually do something. The next part of a physical boundary is simply touch. Say, for example, you meet someone and they say, "Can I have a hug?" You could say, "No." You're allowed to do that. You could say, "No, thank you," and you could put your hand out and say, "Let's handshake." Right? Now, a lot of people say, "Well, I'm a hugger." You know, I'm a hugger. I love hugging people. But I've had to learn not everyone's a hugger. Right? Some people prefer a handshake or a fist bump. And it's very important to work out what people need. Or maybe nothing, and it's just a hello and a wave, right? So this is about respecting other people's desires. So boundaries are not just about choosing what you want, it's also about finding out what would be great for someone else and then respecting that, and that's about this magical word called reciprocity. So the first part of this is really just developing an awareness of all the different types of boundaries that we have. So the 2 major categories are conversational boundary and then a physical boundary. Now the second part of this is create a list of all the boundaries that you're not setting in life. This is the next part. Now this is a big one to do. And you could say, "Okay, well, I'm going to start with some of the small ones." You know, it could be something simple like this. Your partner never wants the heater on at home and you always want the heater on, and every now and then you just wish you could have it on, but you never say anything about it, right? That could be like a really small thing that you're just not bringing up. And then you can have a really big one, right? So a really big one could be your mother always calls you up every single night and expects you to speak to her for an hour every single night, and you feel obligated to do it, but you really don't want to have the conversation, and you'd like to maybe reduce that to once a week, which would be a fair thing to request. Create a full list of all the boundaries that you're not currently setting. The last step is this: choose the easiest one. Choose the smallest one. This is called a cherry on top boundary. So it might be something like when you are with your friend and you're driving in the car with them, they always choose their music and you never ask for the things that you want. You just never say, hey, could we put on country and western? And you're gonna write that down as if you're gonna plan for it, and you're gonna choose something really, really easy to either request or say no to, right? A lot of people have a real challenge saying no to something. So you're gonna choose something in your life that maybe is not serving you and practice either saying no to a really easy one, or choose something that you're not speaking up about and practice saying yes to it. Now, the last part of this is once you have either said no or requested something on a really small cherry on top boundary, you gotta celebrate yourself. You gotta champion yourself for doing it and go me, I did this. I changed the direction of my relationship with myself. You know, you're adding in more aliveness into your life, and maybe find one other person that's into this and celebrate it with them, and they can be your little champion. You can be like, you know what, I did it, I said no, and you'll be like, you're awesome. And start to create a positive relationship around you starting to ask more for what you want in your life. Ultimately, this is about not playing a small game and allowing yourself to play a larger game. You are destined to be able to step into all of your awesomeness, and you are not designed to hold yourself back and placate for everyone else. You are more awesome than that. You are greater than that. Now, if this has resonated with you in any way, shape, or form, and you would love to learn more about this, I would love for you to go ahead and click the link below. You'll head over to another page where I'd love to invite you along to a live global summit that we're running, all about ideas like this and how we can apply them to our own lives and how we can apply them to the lives of others to help other people empower themselves to an even greater level. Go ahead and click the link, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.